whatever happens up there, if there's a significant amount of rain and whatnot, that it's Kerrville and surrounding areas is kind of shaped like a bowl. And if, as we know from last year, if there's rain that happens in that area, it kind of collects all that water and it goes down the Guadalupe and it feeds into Canyon Lake. And so we keep an eye on the precipitation that happens up there, hoping, you know, and that if we ever do a rain dance during a drought, we want to do it up there, hoping that they get rain to supply Canyon Lake. So in this last month, they just got almost 2 inches of rain, which is good, but it's not enough to really make an impact. Next slide. We track the Canyon Lake inflow. We also track the Canyon Lake outflow. The Canyon Lake inflow is in Spring Branch right before it goes into the lake. In all reality, for GBRA to meet all of their obligations downstream of Canyon Lake, they need to release 90 CFS from Canyon Lake. And so if the lake were to maintain an equal level, then it would have to take in 90 CSF, or a little bit more than that actually, because there is water plants that are drawing water off of Canyon Lake. You can see from this chart here that they're, you know, down around 50 and below, even 30 CFS going into Canyon Lake, which is not good. It really should be up around that gray line. That's the average flow that should be coming into the lake. So next slide. And this is just the rain below. We track it. It doesn't really impact us a whole lot, other than if there is significant rain below Canyon Lake, it can cause significant flooding here. Next slide. And then Canyon Lake outflow when we're tracking. Make a couple of comments about this. Last few years, the outflow from Canyon Lake had, you would see these flows go up for a while, like up to 90, 100 CFS. I get those letters mixed around, cubic feet per second. And this year it's been straight lined for the most part. You see it towards the end of the month, it kind of goes up and the flow goes higher. That's because they're filling up Lake McQueeney. But before, when we had those bumps in flow, it was because they were trying to feed their power electric dams, and so they'd run them a certain amount of time out of the day. And GBRA is going through this whole habitat mitigation plan, and they discovered in all of that that they could be damaging the environment by causing these fluctuations in flows. So they actually stopped doing that. I'm not for sure how they handle their hydroelectric, but just a little piece of information for you there. Next slide. The reason why we track Comal spring flow is it doesn't really affect our Canyon Lake rights that we have leased from GBRA, but we can kind of tell what's happening with the drought by tracking this. We could also track J17, because obviously this is fed from Edwards Aquifer. So is the J17 down in San Antonio. Just to let you know that the drought of record back in the 1950s, the Comal Springs actually completely dried up. And if we ever get to that point, then we know that we've at least been equal to the drought of record, or surpassed it. So we're getting close as it is, but the flow is way down coming out of Comal Spring flow. You've probably seen the articles out there, down at the park. They're just not flowing very much. Next slide. San Marcos spring flow does affect our Hayes Caldwell plant. This one is significantly down from where it should be at as well. We do have, however, on the San Marcos River, some of the oldest rights that are in the area. And the rights that we have that are not quite junior, but they're close. We like to draw from those rights first throughout the year before we get into the summer. But just to let you know, we do have senior rights on the San Marcos, but this flow does affect what happens at that plant. The next slide. And then I just threw this Blanco River at San Marcos because the Blanco River does come into the San Marcos River before the Hayes Caldwell plant. And if there's any significant rain up in Blanco or even Wimberley, like we had back in 2015, there was a significant flood that occurred in Wimberley, and all of that water came down and it actually flooded San Marcos and around our plant. And we couldn't access our plant because it was surrounded by water. So it's kind of an important thing. It does affect some when there is rain. It does affect some, the Hayes Caldwell plant. One of the issues, or I just wanted to say that this is more of a dry creek. I know that the head of the Blanco kind of flows, but obviously it disappears before it reaches San Marcos. But anyway, that's pretty much the drought report. I wanted to give a quick explanation for those of you that are new on why we have these slides. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, the next thing that I have in the report is our GBRA water usage. GBRA, for those of you that are new again, they track what we use in the GBRA area, particularly in our mid-cities and Wells Ranch area that we serve here. They want us to track the water that's being used in the GBRA area, and we are allowed to use a little bit outside of the GBRA area. So basically this GBRA water usage report is just tracking where the water's going and where it's used at in the part of the GBRA area and which basins it's used in. And then lastly, underneath the this is actually number 3. I don't know if you want me to talk about number 3 yet, Carrie. Yeah, and so our current water treatment operation, just this report just shows what we've used up to the point in January through March. At each location, this first page here is in acre feet, and it just shows what we used of our raw water at Lake Dunlap Water Treatment Plant, Wells Ranch Water Treatment Plant, and also the Hayes Caldwell plant. So our water rights is in that second column, what we've used year to date, and then what's available for the rest of the year. And currently, we are not in. I mean, we are in drought stage, but it's all voluntary. But anyway, and as you scroll down through here, keep going. That's the trending between what our target is and what we're actually using. And that target changes with drought stage change. And so, so right now we're tracking very well at Lake Dunlap according to the target. Same with Wells Ranch and Hayes Caldwell. Then scroll down. And then this is just the usage of each member and customer that Kenyon Regional has. Hayes Caldwell facility, and then the next page, the next 2 pages is Lake Dunlap and Wells Ranch facilities, and those are kind of blended because the water is to some degree blended out in the transmission system. And as you go down to the very bottom, you can see what each utility has used for this year thus far. Any questions or comments?
Right. So I guess that takes care of items 2 and 3. no questions, we'll move on to item 4, the water treatment plant improvements projects update. Mr. Rodriguez.
For Lake Dunlop and the Strainer improvement project, the 12-inch temporary HDP has been installed, and they're still currently putting in the 24-inch HDP. The disc filter modules should be delivered May 18th, May 20th. Once they've arrived, they'll be able to place filters on the system and begin a temporary startup. And that's what we're at on the Strainer project. Are there any questions there? Okay. As far as the additional membrane water treatment plant upgrade, I believe we're still on staff review. I'll jump down to Wells Ranch. For the emergency generator project, at Wells, all the generators have been placed, and they're currently working on the underground and cable tray work. They're continuing to work through Wells Ranch and then continue to move over to Leisner and Wagner. They should be again pulling wire there once they're there. Any questions on that project? I'll jump down to Hayes Caldwell.
I'm sorry, Bobby. Real quick, just to inform this board, there has been some movement in the tri-hydro case on the emergency generators. We did have some depositions last week, and there's a mediation scheduled for May 12th. So just a quick update on that. It's not stagnant. There has been some movement lately. So.
All right, I'm going to go down to Hayes Caldwell. On phase 1, we are working to complete the list and close out the project. Went and walked it yesterday. Some items have been completed and some items have not. So we are working on getting the general contractor out there to finish those on the substantial completion list. Once that's done, we'll be off that project.
Bobby, real quick,
Yeah.
during the construction committee meeting, we talked about some items that the contractor, so for phase 1 and phase 2, there's kind of the same contractor doing the work, but different generals on it, right? And in phase 1, some of the items that were not completed yet, they asked to push off to phase 2. And I think staff came back and said, probably not comfortable with that. How's the contractor receiving that phase 1 contractor?
He actually called right before the meeting, so I'll reach out to him afterwards.
Okay.
Reiterate all that. But yes, was out there the other day. They wanted for some painting, on some pipe out till phase 2, which doesn't need to happen. It can happen now. If we just want to get them on site and get them all wrapped up, because I'm afraid that if we give them a way out, they won't return.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'd like to note again that DN Tanks is the general contractor on phase 1, and they're a tank builder. They shouldn't have been placed as a general contractor. They're not geared up for it. They don't have the infrastructure for it. So we're fighting those struggles. But once we get out of here, I'll be making that phone call and going over it with them and getting that resolved, hopefully. Phase 2, they're finishing out the paint and hardware detail work for the energy building, Onozo building, and they are currently working on the old tank rehab. As of yesterday, they were sandblasting the outside and the inside and getting that going. So that's where we're at there. We are working on some duct bag 14, which is the SCADA system. Operations says generators provide us 2 conduits to the building, so we don't have to bore underneath the road and underneath all the unknowns that are there. So we're working on getting that shot through, and that would help alleviate some of the issues. And that's what I have for phase 2. Any questions? Thank you.
Mobile membrane filtration unit. Mr. McMullen, any updates on that? As far as the second unit?
Adam's been working on this mainly, but they did submit some more drawings, updated drawings this morning. And if TCEQ is good with them, then they'll go in and make a final copy of it and send them out for us to do. So to install all the stuff, but it just got submitted this morning. So
Okay. We did have a meeting yesterday with the Hayes Caldwell Group to talk about a third mobile unit. No decisions made at the meeting or requested, but essentially, David got some updated costs. Really, our only option for purchasing a third unit outright would be through Paul. That's about $3.1 million for the unit itself. Whether we purchase or rent, there's about $750,000 in peripheral costs, engineering, the infrastructure to support it, that sort of thing. If we rent one, it's about $40,000 a month, whether we went with Paul or West Tech. DuPont is not an option, which that was the third pilot study that we did was DuPont. They're not an option for this, so it's one of those two. I think the general sentiment for the folks attending the meeting, and we had somebody from Crystal Clear, Martindale, and Maxwell. We didn't have anybody in attendance from County Line on the meeting. Seemed like the general sentiment was that leaning towards renting a unit as opposed to purchasing one outright. And I think the reasoning for that is because we can rent a unit for around 6 years for the cost of purchasing one. And there's a chance if we purchase one that, number one, there's a chance that we won't be able to pull any of those cartridges and put them into, a new rack for permanent use. And number two, they're pretty far into their service life at that point anyway. But if we went with that route, that gives us about 6 years, to be able to get some I say permanent, but, replacements for the Coke filters in place. Whereas if we purchase one, we spend all that money and we'll have it at the end, but we're going to have something that may or may not have some salvage value at the end of 6 years. So.
I just think that for the Hayes Caldwell Group, they've spent so much money on this facility to get these different components in and ozone in to alleviate the THM issue. Asking them to then build a new building and redo all the membranes inside the building is just such a significant cost. And if there's a way for Canyon Regional to reliably operate the facility with the temporary membranes and then re-envisioning how to do inside the building just makes a ton of sense to me and gives them a little bit of a break after the phase 1 and phase 2 and a little bit of breathing room for Canyon Regional to figure out what is that more permanent solution. And it may be the trailers for longer with replacements inside, but I think that's so important because I remember a year or two ago discussing the potential for a membrane project being $15+ million. And I just think that's tough pill to swallow at that facility.
Well, we asked the consultant to give us an updated high-level cost estimate at the end of last year, and it was $18 million. So, and just for those who may not be aware yet, one of the goals that our participating members has given us is to figure out a way to fund this without having to issue debt that they have to be a participant in. Because they're all issuing debt right now for their own infrastructure upgrades, and they need us to not be an impact on their capacity to do that. Yes.
Gary, if we're going to rent one, we got to let them know by the end of the month. There's one sitting there they'll give us. If we don't tell them yes by the end of the month, I don't know when we'll get the next one.
And that's if we want that one by July.
That's if you want to rent one. It's the only one that's in. It's right now. We got to the end of the month. Tell them yes or no.
Okay.
After that, they're going to let somebody else have it, and then they don't know when the next one will be turned in.
David, are they still doing the we'll rent it to you, but we won't let you buy it?
Right. We can buy a new one.
But you can't
Can't buy
rental.
that one.
Okay.
No.
And if we make the decision to purchase one, that's about a year lead time from when we execute a contract. So there's a good chance we would need to rent one anyway for that year leading up to it, just depending on how well the Coke, filters hold out. Just as a reminder, County Line still is not using their full allotment from that facility. And that really has helped out a lot to help us get through with those Coke filters. But, I've said this before, we're living on borrowed time with those Coke filters right now. Any questions, comments on that? Pilot study, any updates on that, Adam or David?
It should be in review with TCQ right now. They have like 90 days. Well, they say 90 days, but
Do we know when that 90-day clock started?
I do not. I need to find that out.
So at the construction committee meeting, I think Ardura said they were still parsing through data.
Oh, is that what? I wasn't at the construction.
Yeah. Oh,
committee,
okay.
Yeah,
So,
so they have all the data in, they got the last lab results in, and they're going through all of it now, and then they'll submit it to TCQ.
And then the 90-day window
Then the
starts.
90 days starts. So.
All right. Any questions on Hayes Caldwell or any of the other treatment plant projects? We'll move on to Wells Ranch. On the Wells Ranch 3/Bloomberg project, we did get all of the water supply agreements back, I believe, signed. Did we? Well, actually, we might not have gotten the one back from Green Valley, I think. We got yours, Brandon?
You have mine. I don't think I've gotten the executed copy back from you yet.
Right. Okay.
Springs Hill too?
No, we got Springs Hill. That one's David Klein sent one.
Okay.
Also, and I've got this down the general topics, but I can talk about it now. We did get the response statements for the P3 Owners Advisor. We actually conducted an interview yesterday and hope to have a recommendation soon. Originally, we were looking at coming to the Board of Trustees on Monday to request approval to move forward with negotiating contract with the selected firm. However, we in executive committee, we determined that we really don't need to get board approval to move forward with negotiation, but rather come back in May with approval to execute the contract. So we won't have it as an agenda item this coming Monday, as was originally anticipated. Mr. Rodriguez, the well upgrade project?
For wells 2 and 14 at Wells Ranch, well number 2, the startup was completed last week. As far as well number 14, we're still pending GVC help. Got an email yesterday saying that GVC was requesting another site visit to well 14. But after that communication, they've, I guess, not been able to get in touch with GVC to coordinate this. So we're going to try to reach out and see if we can't help them along. So that's where we're at. Any questions?
Well, number 1, Mr. McMullen?
Number 1, pad yesterday, they moving in Monday. Should get to people there. But being down few days, guys, so new, like they got up on that lobby. Or the raw water tank. Final isolation. Big replace. And 3-month valve wasn't working. All the piping. Final square. Like, also you. 24 inch pipe, maybe now, down to about 18 inches. These up there, so they're placed from up. Park them up. Like we-
Okay. On item D, I thought that was a typo. I thought that should have said wells number 3 and 13. What's going on with well 2? Okay.
Upgrade. Thing they got full of running right now.
Who told you that?
I'll reach out to STV. That's the first I've heard of it, but I'll reach out and see what I can find out.
Who's directing Weisinger?
Bobby
Okay.
on well 2.
And then, just so y'all, well,
Wait, what Weisinger's, it's Wefield on well 2.
Somehow Weisinger's in it. I've never dealt with him directly on this project until 2 weeks ago. So that's why I'm gonna reach out and find out what is happening there.
Okay.
Go from there.
You said Weisinger told you
last
that?
thing is the well people. They're the ones that did the pumps and stuff on the upgrades. They did the upgrades for well 2. 2 and 14, they're the contractor.
Yeah, just find out from your contractor, Bobby.
Will do.
Thank you. Any questions on Wells Ranch?
Did I miss the water tank leak discussion? Sometimes I'll start daydreaming.
That's what I was saying. We're installing, we had to replace the isolation valves. We
Yeah.
couldn't get them to work. We're doing the last one today. And in doing that, we know why they wouldn't operate, because they're full of lime inside the pipe. The 24-inch pipes are down to about 18.
18. Okay, sorry. I was
So,
daydreaming and I picked back up
there's
on the
gonna be
18. This is my fault.
100 feet or so of pipe we're going to end up, needing to replace out there, because it comes out as a 30 and goes down, and then it splits down to 20, splits to 3 24s.
Do we add lime before the raw water tank?
We have lime from the raw water tanks back to where we inject the lime slurry.
Past the tank or before the tank?
There's stub
It's
out for a
before.
third tank. It's
Okay.
a third 24-inch.
Yeah, Brandon, it's before the tank and back, I don't know if you remember back when we used to use a lime slaker, probably more than likely that buildup is pretty old. Some of it probably is. The new lime slurry system is supposed to dissolve better by using the SLS rather than the lime slaker. I don't know. I guess we're going to find out.
The valves were working and they've quit now, so.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's on the
I couldn't.
discharge side
remember if it was
didn't
passed.
work either. And that one we know did work at one point, so. Anyhow, we're getting them replaced and then we'll figure out a game plan after that, what to do with the rest of it there. Put it in the
Is it,
5-year plan of fixing and repairing it.
I mean, is it okay to ask that when we do the assessment, we take some pictures and we show them?
I've got the valves that we pulled out to show
Yeah.
y'all.
Mhm.
So yeah, we can show y'all kinds of.
I thought one of the best benefits was going to the sites and seeing all the sites and knowing what you're talking about and knowing this and that. And the next best thing is showing pictures.
I wanted to get these others out of the ground, both sides, so we can tell exactly on the other side to see if it's as bad on the discharge side of the tanks as the inlet sides. And that won't do that till today, so they're working on it right now.
No, I did mention this. I have requested a proposal to do an assessment and get a design for rehabbing that. And just look at any rehab needs while we're in there.
So we've actually dealt with some deposition problems on one of our lines, a lot smaller than yours, obviously, but One thing that did get us kind of through the interim until we figured out the chemistry was we just started working those valves manually, once a week to make sure that they didn't seize up. I'm sure y'all probably thought of that, but I figured I'd chime in there.
Yeah, we're gonna fix the problem because we can't close them, we can't produce water. So,
All right. Any other discussion on Wells Ranch? Moving on to general topics, the Gonzales water leases. We did have a meeting with Wells Ranch members to talk about the leases in Gonzales County. Ms. Hawkins has been working her fingers to the bone for a while now, getting everything sorted out. She presented a map of all the leases and some different scenarios with different volumes of acre feet, available under each scenario. And sent that report out to all the members. And so right now what we're hoping is that helps all the members determine how much water they may want to have reserved for a potential Wilcox project in Gonzales County. We'll follow up on that. We're giving everybody some time to digest the information. It was a pretty comprehensive report. But moving forward without really having a target goal for how much water we want to produce in Gonzales County, it's kind of hard for us to have any more development. Anything to add on that, Chelsea? All right. Short-term leases, Crystal Clear, SS. Okay, Springs Hill, Green Valley. I think we have the one back from Crystal Clear. I think we have it back from everybody, but have we gotten it from Green Valley? They're the short-term lease for Bloomberg.
So no is the short answer. But just to do a short recap, we had gotten through the process of building up a short-term lease agreement with those entities through mid-fall of last year. We'd been working on it pretty much up until GBRA came out of drought. So there were not any finalized leases that were returned. And since we paused that work, we hadn't been recirculating the latest version of the draft. So if there is interest, I would need to do that again. Crystal Clear had not been involved in those conversations though, and they do want to participate. So what I have done is created a version of it for them with their specific information so that their legal has an opportunity to look it over. But I think if everyone's on board, we'd want to recirculate those drafts again and pick that back up. And I can do that. I can get those out today or early tomorrow.
Okay.
So it's still communication.
Yeah.
He's actually disconnected.
Yeah.
He can
Yeah.
back tomorrow. So we should probably make it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure he'll be making the rounds. All right. I gave the update on the P3 Owners Advisor. We also do have an RFQ currently out on the streets for operational master plan. I've had some interest. I think quite a few folks have downloaded the solicitation. Those statements are due on the 17th of this month. I don't know that we will be able to review those and come back to the for that next board meeting. It would probably be something that we would come back in June with a recommendation on that. Last item, facility needs and associated costs. So the operations team worked up a list of more immediate facility needs in response to a request from the budget committee. No, this was to, we identified leftover funds from the last fiscal year, and I broke that down by facility. And so the staff developed a list of needs, stuff that we could get done right away, more pressing critical items. The Budget Committee, I believe, is going to make a recommendation to the Board of Trustees that we, move forward with using the monies for those needs. I don't know if is a Board of Managers recommendation needed as well.
The board of managers recommended to the budget committee to do it. So I would hope that that just kind of
Yeah, yeah,
is implied at the board of trustees meeting.
yeah.
But on that was for this year. Remember, we're looking for something to give the budget committee for fiscal year 27.
Yes.
We've got an item of O&M that's in the budget that's, separate from repair and replacement. And so having that other list for us to look at, if you can have that by May, then we can make a recommendation to the budget committee that for fiscal year 27, you should include these items in your O&M side of these different facilities. And I think that helps staff better firm up getting it passed through, because trustees like to pull back on those costs, but if they've got some extra eyes on it, it makes that a little more difficult.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we've got some momentum, some willingness to put some investment in those needs. So now's definitely a good time.
So,
Staff been
Brandon, so
working
you
on
know.
that. We're working on this first year first, but ultimately a 5-year plan that we can continue to maintain.
5-year plan's great. Fiscal year 27.
Yeah.
If you could just get something there, just so we can get something in there. 5-year plan, I'm with you 100%. The problem is the budget committee is going to have it in May, maybe June, right? And
Yeah.
I just don't want y'all to miss that opportunity to get it in there, because if not, the only way to do things in 27 is if we have leftover funds in 26. That's
Right.
not a good way.
No, the emphasis is definitely on this next year.
I've got lists. We're working on pricing. Big list. I mean, Wells Ranch got 25 items. Lake Dunlop, they got 14. Hayes Caldwell's got 13. Wagner's got 10. Leisner's got 10. 1604's got 11. Pipeline's got 8. And then the tank sites have got 5.
Great. Prioritized, and then if they all need to be 27, or if they're 27, 28, or 27, 28, 29, whatever it may be, giving the budget committee something that we can say from the board of managers, hey, staff needs the stuff. Let's get it in the budget.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Any questions on general topics? Items for the Board of Managers or the Board of Trustees? You want to pull up the Board of Trustees agenda? There's one item that we need to add here, is appointment of officers to the Alliance Regional, or not officers, but trustees. That'll be added into the general business. I don't think we're going to have any new trustees at this next meeting, to my knowledge. Go ahead and move on down to the general business. So these are the items that we have right now. One is for the credit card policy. We had item B was for putting in a hard closing date for the month-end financials. That's to help Joan and Brian so that they can wrap up each month. And we've had a history of where we're getting invoices, weeks later. So we're wanting to get a hard closing date. The other one is to, some of you may recall, we used to lag a month for getting the financials approved at the Board of Trustees meeting, so that it would give a more complete picture of what was getting approved. For a few months, we did away with that lag. But the executive committee and the budget committee have decided it would be best to put that lag back into place. One thing, Brandon, we're looking at separating these items again. I think Brian has brought up some reasons why we maybe want to delay implementing the hard closing date. So we want to discuss that with the board. And so we want to separate this back into two items in case one's, gets tabled and one gets approved.
Let's just talk about it after this, since it's
Okay.
not a board of managers concern.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah.
think there are any items on here necessarily other than item 9C, with the board of managers has already made a recommendation to the budget committee.
Yeah.
My understanding is the budget committee just took that recommendation and adopted it. So
Okay.
there's no changes. There's nothing different than what, we'd recommended.
Okay. Yeah. So exec session is the same, couple of items, that we've been discussing, but that's it.
So Hannah says, just a reminder for everyone that the board of managers appointments are due this month.
Since I have a very recent appointment, do I need another one? Okay, thank you. And for the trustees as well?
Depends on if you were up or if Jim's up.
We can, I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can send you an email. We can talk after.
All right. Any other items?
I'd like to add one note. I misspoke earlier on wells 2 and 14. The general contractor is MGD and the engineer is STB. So I'll be reaching out to
Oh,
them.
okay.
So I apologize.
Right. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, we can adjourn this meeting at 10:45. Thank you, everybody.